Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the latest in our webinar series. Today's webinar will discuss how to integrate Solarwinds with ServiceNow in minutes. It's one of the most common topics we get asked about, and judging by the number of people who registered for this webinar, there's a very strong appetite to learn more about how we can help you quickly integrate Solarwinds with ServiceNow in your environment. I am Guy Nadivi, Director of Business Development for IAHU, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Yaron Levy, IAHU's Vice President of Professional Services. And together, we're going to not only talk about how to integrate SolarWinds with ServiceNow in minutes, but we're also going to show you a live demo of how it's done, and even better, what you can do with this high-value integration once it's in place. In case you're wondering, the value goes way beyond just automating creation of ServiceNow tickets in response to SolarWinds alerts. And before we dive in, I'm just going to do a brief commercial about IAHU. We are a Gartner-recognized industry leader in the IT process automation space. We were founded in 2007 and are now completing our 9th year as a company in this niche market. We've had an automation solution available for the market for over 6 years, and it's called Ishare. The most recent release is version 4.7, and our largest investor and chairman of our board is Eric Benamou, whose name some of you may remember from the days when he was CEO of 3Com Corporation and Palm Computers. He is currently founder and general partner of Benamou Global Ventures, BGV, an early-stage VC firm based in Silicon Valley. Ishare is currently being used by some very recognizable organizations with very large and very complicated environments that not only include SolarWinds and ServiceNow, but many other network monitoring systems and ITSM help desk ticketing programs. These organizations use Ishare to integrate many of those platforms together, among other things. Now, speaking of network monitoring systems and ITSM help desk ticketing platforms, Ishare integrates out of the box not only with SolarWinds and ServiceNow, but many others that you'll probably recognize from this slide. However, it turns out that by far the most popular combination we run into these days are the two at the top, SolarWinds and ServiceNow. Let's talk a bit about how things are typically handled in today's IT operations, particularly at the service desk. In most environments today, companies have a network monitoring system like SolarWinds to keep an eye on things, and when there's an incident, an alert gets generated that typically goes right to a level 1 technician at the help desk. And this is where the process stalls a bit until the technician creates a ticket in the ITSM help desk application, which is often ServiceNow. The technician then begins the process of remediation, or if it's beyond their level of expertise, escalates it to a level 2 technician. Either way, one of them is then supposed to update the original ticket in ServiceNow and finally close it out once the underlying incident has been remediated. And if they remember, they're also supposed to go back to SolarWinds to update and dismiss the alert that kicked off this entire disconnected and very fragmented process. I trust this looks very familiar to a lot of you right now. I can tell you that this model represents what we run into at least 98% of the time. And here's what we recommend as an alternative. We call it a closed-loop process where there is no fragmentation. And you start out with Ishare creating an integration between SolarWinds and ServiceNow. Now, when SolarWinds generates an alert, Ishare intercepts it, parses it, and launches the appropriate workflow needed to remediate the underlying incident automatically. While this is taking place, Ishare also automatically creates a ticket in ServiceNow and updates it in real time by documenting every step of the incident remediation process. And once the incident is remediated, Ishare automatically closes the ticket as well as updates SolarWinds to dismiss the alert. And this illustrates why we think of Ishare as a virtual operator, which we sometimes refer to as level 0 tech support. Many incidents are simply resolved automatically by Ishare without any human intervention and without the need for any attention from a level 1 technician. And there are numerous benefits to using a tool like Ishare to enable this type of a closed-loop process like the one just illustrated. First and foremost, it's going to eliminate all that manual labor that goes into creating tickets, especially in bigger environments where there's a large volume of ServiceNow tickets being created. Automating that function is often seen as a godsend by our clients, and eliminating that manual effort also eliminates the human errors that often accompany it. And not surprisingly, automating the creation of tickets along with the remediation of the underlying incident can radically reduce a help desk's mean time to resolution KPIs. And that's a pretty big deal. Beyond that, automation enforces ITIL compliance by ensuring that procedures are followed properly every single time. And that same automation also allows your help desk to encapsulate best practices for incident remediation in the workflow, so problems get resolved the right way no matter who's on duty. And all of that ultimately reduces the noise your service desk deals with. And once that noise is reduced, and sometimes even eliminated, your L1 and L2 staff can be freed up to work on more important things. As just one example, we had a client last year who used Ishare to automate Active Directory password resets. That was previously being done by a couple of full-time L1 technicians at their help desk. So once that process was automated, those two technicians were freed up to work on more strategic projects that had been on the back burner for a while. And finally, the automation in a closed-loop process also ensures that each incident is properly and fully documented every time a ticket is opened in ServiceNow. Okay, so now you've integrated Solarwinds with ServiceNow, and it only took a few minutes. So what are the top 5 things you're going to use this integration for? Well, here are the top 5 tasks that we've seen our customers automate. Number 1, not surprisingly, is automating creation of ServiceNow tickets in response to an alert from Solarwinds. Pretty obvious that this is the first task organizations want to automate once Solarwinds and ServiceNow are integrated. Number 2 is also not much of a surprise, automating service and or server restarts. Applications and their host servers freeze up all the time. Restarting them is a classic example of a routine, repeatable process, which is a perfect use case for automation. But Ishare doesn't just automate the restart, it also validates that the server came up properly and that the applications also restarted correctly. Number 3 is an interesting one, mitigating false alerts in SolarWinds. Please keep in mind that when you integrate SolarWinds with ServiceNow, the communications flow is bidirectional. That not only means that SolarWinds alerts can flow automatically to ServiceNow, but it also means that tickets submitted in ServiceNow can cause a flow of automation to be directed back towards SolarWinds. As an example, let's say that you have a cluster of 10 servers that need to have their storage upgraded. Normally, taking down those servers might trigger an alert storm in SolarWinds. However, if you submit a ticket in ServiceNow requesting to upgrade storage on that 10-server cluster, and that ServiceNow ticket gets approved, Ishare will see that approved ticket in ServiceNow's queue and execute a workflow that, among other things, puts those 10 servers on maintenance mode in SolarWinds and thus avoids triggering a storm of false alerts. Number 4 is remediating low disk space on a server by automating the deletion, compression, and or transfer of files to free up space. Now, even though you can fully automate this process once Ishare receives the low disk space alert from SolarWinds, this is actually a good example of an incident remediation where IT organizations will insert a pause into the workflow in order to accept human decision-making input. For example, before actually deleting a file, the workflow can send a text message to an administrator for approval to proceed with the deletion, and before continuing with the remainder of the automated process. And finally, number 5 is a very popular choice, leveraging Ishare's communication, notification, and escalation capabilities to dynamically assign ticket ownership in ServiceNow to an appropriate technician. Ishare can notify the relevant person to take ownership for a particular ticket via SMS, email, instant messaging, and even telephone via IVR text-to-speech capabilities. If that person can't be located within, say, 60 seconds or however long you decide, Ishare moves to the next person in the escalation hierarchy and tries to notify them. And you can escalate to a specific name or to whoever is currently on duty or even to a group of people in order to ensure that no matter what day or time it is, the right person takes ownership for a particular incident. Now, speaking of automating ticket creation within ServiceNow, let me address a point about that, which has probably crossed a number of your minds by now. Some of you might be thinking to yourself, isn't there a simpler approach to this? Why do I need an automation tool when I can simply have SolarWinds send an email with alert information about the incident directly to ServiceNow and automatically create a ticket, that way. And technically, you'd be correct in thinking that. In fact, there are a number of organizations creating tickets just like that because it's such a simple approach. But the simplest way of doing things isn't always the best way of doing things. Creating a ticket in ServiceNow by sending an email from SolarWinds is purely a one-way communication process that does not let you do a number of other important things. For example, taking the simple approach does not let you receive a confirmation that it actually worked. When you create a ticket in ServiceNow from a SolarWinds email, you have no way to confirm that ServiceNow even received the email from SolarWinds, much less created a ticket from it in ServiceNow. However, by using Ishare's integration between the two, you can not only confirm that a ticket was created in ServiceNow, but you can also extract the ticket number and the name of the responsible technician assigned to the incident to propagate back to SolarWinds for cross-referencing purposes. And I think you'll agree that's a nice benefit. But we're not done yet. How about data enrichment? If you use the simple email approach to ticket creation, how do you map information from a SolarWinds alert email to a ServiceNow form? Well, you can either use complicated scripting, which then negates the simplicity of using the email approach in the first place, or you can stuff all the information into one field on the ServiceNow form. That's not exactly the best practice approach, though. With Ishare integrating SolarWinds and ServiceNow, though, you can populate multiple fields on ServiceNow forms accurately and do so without requiring any scripting. For example, Ishare can not only take information about the incident and use that to create a ticket in ServiceNow, but it can also include forensic information like CPU usage, available memory, number of users logged in, etc., and put all of that on the ServiceNow ticket as well. Another big drawback to the simple approach of emailing alert information to ServiceNow is that it gives you no way to first verify that the alert is not a false positive unless, again, you're willing to start writing some complicated scripts, and now suddenly the email method isn't so simple anymore. With Ishare, though, you can incorporate a verification process into the ticket creation workflow and confirm that the alert is not a false positive before starting to remediate the incident. And, oh, by the way, you can do that without any scripting. There are lots of other good reasons not to take the simple approach and instead use a tool like Ishare, but we have limited time today, and instead of beating that topic to death, you're probably all eager for me to shut up so you can actually see what integrating SolarWinds with ServiceNow in minutes actually looks like live. So with that, I'm going to turn over control of the screen to my colleague, Yaron Levy, who will first demonstrate how easy it is to integrate both SolarWinds and ServiceNow, and then dive into an example of what that integration can do for your IT operations in a real-world scenario. Yaron, please take it away.
First, I'll ask if everyone can put themselves on mute so we won't have any background noise. Thank you. So, hello, everyone. My name is Yaron Levy, and I'm managing the professional services in Yale. Today, I'm going to demonstrate to you guys the easy and simplicity of integrating SolarWinds and ServiceNow using Ishare. But first, a few words about our solution. Ishare is an IT process automation orchestrator. It enables you guys to design and build different types of workflows to automate operations and security incident response, and also the day-to-day repetitive task within your network operating center, your SOC, or your help desk. It's capable of integrating to the most known monitoring systems and ITSM ticketing systems, such as the HP Operation Manager, the HP Service Manager, Microsoft MOM, the BMC Remedy, Jira, the Inspection, ServiceNow, for SolarWinds, focusing on the network performance monitor and the server and applications. We have those integrations available. And by enabling those integrations, Ishare can intercept alerts and process a workflow, not only to just create a ticket, but will also assist in validating, troubleshooting, communication to the staff if necessary, and most important, help you guys to remediate incidents. The interfaces that you will find with our product are the Ishare dashboard, which is what you're seeing right now. Basically, this dashboard going to show you intercepted alerts from all the monitoring and ticketing system into one centralized place. And not only are you going to see the alert itself, you will be able to see a running workflow and the process that helps you to troubleshoot and remediate. and you will be able to observe it in real time from here. The second interface is the Ishare Studio. This is the place where all the system settings are done, including the workflows, the integration points, and the resources. And then the Ishare Workflow Designer. This is where you guys can design and build a different type of workflows that you would like to execute for every alert and ticket you're going to receive, and we're going to get back to this later on. Focusing on today's agenda, I'm going to start with a short, very short demonstration of triggering an alert in SolarWinds. I'm going to just pick the printer spooler, and I'm going to stop it, and then I'm going to see how Ishare handle such alerts. So together with Ishare over here, I have also my SolarWinds server and application console available over here. Right now, you see I don't have any open alerts, and then I also have my ServiceNow, and you can see there are already a couple of tickets over here, and you're going to see how Ishare creates the tickets over here as well. So we're going to start by just stopping the printer spooler. And we're going to give a minute to SolarWinds in order to intercept this problem. We're going to open the Ishare. We're going to open my SolarWinds over here console. Usually takes about a minute. Once Orion, the SolarWinds, will alert us about this issue, immediately Ishare, you're going to see Ishare immediately pull this alert, and we will be able to view it on the Ishare dashboard. And at that point of time, we're going to see how Ishare triggers the corresponding workflow in order to handle such incidents. In our case, the printer spooler. So we're going to give it a couple of more seconds, wait for it to start. The process that I've designed, and we're going to witness that once we're going to get the alert from SolarWinds, is first do a validation. So over here you can see the alert about the printer spooler, and here it is inside Ishare. So you can see the alert. This is my server name, the printer spooler problem, and then if you click on the active logs over here, you can actually view all the steps that were done for this workflow. First step was to check. Each line here represents a step within the workflow. So the first step was to check the service. We first want to validate there were no false alerts. So we're actually taking another action to connect to that remote server, making sure, hey, what's the real status of that server, just to overcome false alerts coming from SolarWinds or from any other monitoring system. You can see that the result that it was stopped, meaning, yeah, this is a real problem. It's not a false alert. We're requesting to send a restart to that service. So we're asking to start that service, and it's now running. We're rechecking just to make sure the current status of that service. It's now running. We were able to remediate that problem automatically. And this is the step where we're creating the ticket inside ServiceNow. So that's in create record is the action to communicate with ServiceNow, create the ticket 49, and at the end, we're actually sending an acknowledgement back to SolarWinds. Taking a look a second at the SolarWinds alert, you can see first this alert was acknowledged by Ishare, and inside the alert, as part of the acknowledgement, we've actually added a note saying, hey, we've restarted the service. Here is the ticket number that was generated inside ServiceNow. So this is the interaction that we did back in case anyone is looking in front of the SolarWinds console. Going for a second to the ServiceNow, refreshing that, and you can see the ticket 49 created over here. You can see that now because Ishare was able to remediate the problem by restarting the service and making sure that the service is now running, this ticket is already being resolved, and inside the all the information about, hey, what the problem was, and that now the spooler is back online and running. Okay, so let's see how easily this was accomplished, this integration. So the first, Ishare is an on-premise solution, okay? You guys can download it directly from our website. It comes with 30-day trial, fully featured. During the installation, you will require to add the SolarWinds and the ServiceNow integration as part of the install. Once that is completed and you put the trial license on your product, this is how you set up the integration in a couple of minutes. The first thing you will need to do is go to the Ishare Studio, go to the configuration settings, and this is where you can actually set up the connections to your ServiceNow and to Orion. By either clicking New or right-click and selecting New, you can select the integrations that comes with this with our solution. So you can find ServiceNow over here and the SolarWinds over here. It doesn't matter. The SolarWinds NPM works both for the Network Performance Monitor and for the SAM solution. It doesn't really matter. Once you select, first you're going to start with the Orion, but it doesn't really matter if it's going to be the Orion first or the SolarWinds first. Inside, it will ask you to provide a name that you would like to give to this integration. And once you're going to click configuration, this is where you actually need to select, hey, where is your Orion server is located. Right now, mine is installed on my desktop, so that's why it's mentioned here localhost. The port to access the Orion username and password, and test the connection. Once that connection has been established, you're done. Click OK, save it, and you have one integration ready. Second integration, ServiceNow. You're going to give it a name again. You're going to go back to the configuration. You'll provide your instance URL address over here. You're going to provide a username and a password. You're going to test that connection. If that works fine, then you're good to start. You have two integrations ready, and you can start working on building the workflow that you would like to execute. These are some of the workflows that I have on my Ishare, focusing on the SolarWinds demo that we just now seen. This is a process that took me like maybe 5 minutes to create. Very quick process. All the actions that you're seeing here are activities that we witnessed during the demonstration itself. So the first action, you can see the service status. We've started with validating that this is not a false alert. You can see that inside this action, we're using variables. Those information are actually being taken in real time from the alert itself that we're intercepting from the Orion. So the name of the service, which is the spooler, and the host name in my case, it's a local host, but for you guys, it's going to be the server name. That's going to come up here automatically when that workflow is going to be executed. So for best practice, it's always better to use variables all over your workflow. So basically, this process starts with, and that's what we see in the demonstration, service status. We're checking if the service is up and running, just to ignore false alert. If the result was that it was running, we're using an action called send email just to update the admin that, hey, there was a false alert over here. There's nothing really that needs to be done. And then we're acknowledging the alert inside SolarWinds. In our case, the service was down. This is why we use the service start action and started that service. This is where we, again, check the service just to make sure that it's now back and running. Based on the result, running or any other results, we're creating the ticket inside ServiceNow with the corresponding result of starting that service, and then acknowledging the alert back in SolarWinds together with the ticket number that we're going to get back when we open the ticket inside ServiceNow. So all this bunch of actions that you're seeing over here, they were all dragged from the toolbox that you can find on the left side over here. This toolbox comes with 500 different type and ready actions that you can drag and drop and design the process. You need to put those activities in the right order that you would like them to execute it, same as I did over here. You can find here categories handling Active Directory, communication, databases, remote executions, files and folders, different type of integration, Microsoft Exchange, VMware, and so on. I'm going to focus right now on the ServiceNow and on the SolarWinds actions that I use and combine within my workflow over here. So a couple of things about these integrations, starting with the ServiceNow. So first, this integration is a two-way integration. So not only you can create tickets, but you can also intercept tickets. Common scenario is, as Guy mentioned, someone would like to put a couple of servers under maintenance mode. He can open a ticket in ServiceNow, put the name of their servers or a group of servers under that ticket. Ishare can intercept that ticket, communicate back to SolarWinds, put those servers under maintenance mode, and reduce a lot of alerts. So that's an example of the two-way communication that you can do between Ishare and ServiceNow. Second, it's fully flexible and it has the capabilities to discover the different type of forms and fields within your instance. So there is no limit for which form you guys can use, like the incident, change, problem, or CMDB. It can also interact with all kinds of customized forms. If you guys building your own forms inside ServiceNow, we can communicate with that and extract the information. There's no special configuration required, and all the discovery of the different type of forms and the fields is done automatically. So for instance, I've used the SN create record over here to create the ticket as part of my demonstration, where when I open it, first thing it gives me the list of all the forms that it discovered from my ServiceNow. I can pick the form I would like to use, like the change, CMDB, incident, whatever. Obviously, I used incident in my case. And then by clicking on the optional properties, it's going to reveal you with all the different type of fields that exist in your incident form inside your instance. You can pick the fields that you would like to use when you open the ticket, and this is where you can actually do the mapping of the information of what comes from SolarWinds and what you want to put as part of the ticket that you're creating inside ServiceNow. You can access all the variables and all the different type of information by clicking over here on this variable action and selecting the Orion integration. Inside, you're going to find all the list of all the different types of information. These are the field names of the information that we're getting for every alert that we're intercepting from SolarWinds. You can pick and combine any of those fields over here and place them as part of the ticket that you're opening inside ServiceNow. A few sentences about the SolarWinds integration. So again, this is also a two-way integration, and as you've seen, not only we can intercept an alert coming from SolarWinds, we can actually react back, so like acknowledging an alert. This is what I've done over here, where I'm getting the alert ID, I'm using the alert ID, the name of the person, in my case, Ishare, and then whatever note I would like to add to the alert itself, I'm going to put it over here. And there are a couple of actions that you can find over here, starting from acknowledging alerts, getting information about existing alerts, information about existing nodes. But here is where you can also find the managed and unmanaged nodes that you can use in order to automate putting servers inside maintenance mode. Now let's assume that I would like to modify this workflow. And for instance, let's say you guys want to get a text message if the service failed to restart after Ishare tried to do that for you. So under communication, you can pick the send SMS action and just drag it to the failure branch, send a text. We're going to just place it over here under the failure branch. This is the failure branch after Ishare tried to start the service. It failed, it rechecked, it returned back that it failed, and now it will proceed from this branch. I've just drag and dropped the send SMS. I'm going to open it. I can pick the user that I would like to send a text message to. You can either select it to a specific user, to Active Directory user, to a group of people, but you can also type the phone number of the person you would like to communicate with. This is where you can customize the message and put any message you want, also combine with information coming from the alert itself. If you want to combine it with a ticket number, just drag it and put it after creating the ticket, extract the ticket number from this action, and put it as part of the text message that you're saying. You can send a message to a person saying, hey, the restart failed, this is the ticket number, please proceed by yourself. So this is how easily you guys can modify this workflow very quickly. Once your workflow is ready and saved, you are left with only one more step that you need to do in order to complete this task. So the first step was installing the software. Then second step was configuring the module, the SolarWinds and the ServiceNow. Then you're going to build your own workflows based on your policy and whatever action you guys want to take. And the last part is basically connecting between the alert that you're getting from Orion to the workflow that you would like to execute. So the action rules that can be located over here, this is the place that you can set up all the different type of rules. This is a very powerful rule engine that allow you guys to set up all kinds of different conditions to expected events that you're getting from outside, from third-party software. And again, it doesn't have to be an alert from Orion. It can be also a ticket from a ticketing system. And this is where you're going to set up, hey, if I'm getting an alert from Orion, then this is the workflow I would like to execute. So the rule base, this is the place, this is the last step. Once that step is completed, in my case, I've just set it up to take anything that comes from Orion, just go ahead and run this SolarWinds demo workflow. This is how easily. And this is why we're saying, hey, this doesn't take more than 5 to 10 minutes to build and do all those integrations and make them work very fast. To summarize, Ishare is an easy to use and codeless and very powerful solution that can help you guys to orchestrate your alerts. Not only, to document it in ServiceNow, that's the easy part, but do much more like validation. You want to validate this is a real alert, not a false alert. You want to maybe add some troubleshooting, some forensic information that you would like to collect and maybe put that as part of the ticket. Finding root cause, if possible. Communicate with people. We didn't mention all the communication part that you can combine within those workflows. Not only send a text message to someone, but actually get his confirmation. Maybe you need his approval before restarting something. You can also combine that as part of the process and eventually remediate the problem. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. Guy, I give it back to you.
Yeah, and let's stay on your screen, Yaron. Thank you for that excellent demo. We have a lot of really good questions that came in, and you may want to use your screen to demonstrate the answers. So let's just go ahead and dive right into it. The first question, do you have to have the event management module in ServiceNow?
No. First of all, you don't have to even have ServiceNow. Like maybe have a different ticketing system. You can use the Jira, you can use the BMC Remedy, the HP Service Manager, and if you're using ServiceNow, it's flexible. You can use any type of forms, even if you don't have the incident, the change, or whatever event management over there, but you use some other forms that you create. Then yeah, you can communicate with those as well.
Okay. Next question: when integrating SolarWinds with ServiceNow, do I need a SolarWinds license for each ServiceNow user?
No, you don't need. So the integration that we're doing with the SolarWinds is what is called a database direct integration, meaning that we're looking at the SolarWinds database and pulling the information from there. It's enough that we're going to have a user access to the database, and that's it. We don't need any. It doesn't matter how many users you have in ServiceNow or whatever.
Okay. Next question. Can the tool also alert on certificates that are close to their expiration date and create a ticket?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again? I'm not sure I understood the question.
Can Ishare also process alerts on certificates that are close to their expiration date and create a ticket? I think that's what
as long as there is something that's going to notify Ishare, it's going to trigger such events, some monitoring system that actually looks at those certificates and knows how to tell, hey, this certificate is going to expire in 5 days, and it can forward that alert into Ishare, then yes, we can take it from there and create a ticket for that as well.
Okay. Next question. Can you use this integration to keep your CMDB updated?
Yes, I'm actually right now in such a project with a client where in their scenario they're actually required to update the SolarWinds asset management every time there is a change, and they would like that information that is being inserted in the asset management inside SolarWinds will be replicated or will be updated within ServiceNow. So yes, you can.
Okay. This is a duplicate. Do I need a SolarWinds license for every ServiceNow user? So we've answered that. This one is a question for me. What is the cost of using Ishare? At the end of the demo, at the end of this webinar, I'm going to place my email address on the screen. It depends on a number of factors in your environment. So if you contact me directly, I'll be happy to walk through the pricing with you. Okay. A lot more great questions. Does this integrate with event management in ServiceNow also, or just incident?
With any type of form inside your ServiceNow instance, any type.
Okay. What version does Ishare work on? What version of SolarWinds does Ishare work on?
I think the latest one is 6.2 for the server and application, and 11 point, I don't recall, 11 point something for the SolarWinds. So we're working with the latest version and the one version before that.
Okay.
Both for the network and the server and application.
Okay. Next question: can you integrate with multiple SolarWinds servers?
Yes. When I show you the module that you can configure over here, and it's also a license matter. If you have the right license for Ishare, then you can create additional SolarWinds modules that each one of them looks at a different system.
Okay, lots of great questions. Keep them coming. Can you share workflows across integrations?
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, I think you just demonstrated a workflow that crossed integration for SolarWinds as well as ServiceNow. So if the question is how many different platforms or anything that you can incorporate into a single workflow, there is no limit.
There is no limitation. You can combine as many. If you have a couple of different types of integration, or even you have a couple of SolarWinds servers that you would like to integrate and communicate with in one workflow, there is no limitation over there.
Yeah, and by the way, our last webinar we did was kind of VMware specific, but it talked about how to onboard an employee with automation, and that involved touching Active Directory to create an ID, touching VMware to provision a VM, going to SAP and granting permissions, and on and on and on. So all those platforms that you need to touch when you're onboarding a new employee or offboarding someone can all be encapsulated in one workflow. Next question: can you add multiple numbers to send the message to?
Can you add multiple numbers?
I think when you're notifying somebody, that's the equivalent of sending to a group or to maybe multiple people at the same time.
If it's notifying multiple people, then yes, you can do that. You can send it to a group of people very easily.
Okay. Is Enable on our list of integrations?
Yes, it's part of the roadmap, but if there is some project going on right now with one of your customers, we'll be happy to take a look at it, and maybe we can, make that integration be ready faster.
Okay. What is the average number of workflows for a large company?
I've already seen customers with over than 600 workflows in one system.
But what would you say is the average among large companies?
I think between 300 to 400.
Which is just a reflection of the fact that there's a lot of manual procedures out there that can easily be automated with a tool like Ishare.
Right.
What are the communication protocols used?
So in order to communicate with remote servers, if those are Windows, then WMI and WinRM, those are the standards. And for any Linux, Unix, or network equipment, anything that supports Secure Shell, we will be able to communicate with those devices, extract whatever information we need, execute whatever command we need. Okay.
Does it work with ICIMS to ServiceNow for onboarding/offboarding users?
I'm not familiar with the ICM, but the common processes that I'm seeing for onboarding through ServiceNow and Ishare is that there is a form that the HR, for instance, department, they can use to fill the information about the new employee. Ishare can intercept that ticket, extract all the information about the new onboarding person, and then create a ticket, VM, whatever needed for that person.
To the person who submitted that question, if you could please provide a little bit more information about what ICIMS is, we can revisit that question and dive a little bit deeper. Next question: how can we manage duplicate alerts from a server? Can we enable deduplication to avoid multiple alerts/tickets?
Yes. So it's a good point. By default, Ishare is capable of aggregating alerts coming from your monitoring system. That means that, for instance, let's say you have a disk space issue. You're going to get an alert about a 70% down disk space. And Ishare, obviously, we're going to trigger a workflow to handle such problem. And we all know that Solarwinds may send another update, like in a couple of minutes after, saying, hey, it's not anymore 70%, it's like 80%. So by default, Ishare knows how to aggregate such an alert and just add it to the main alert that is already executing, and there's only going to be one workflow, the first workflow, in order to help you guys to remediate the problem. The rest are going to be aggregated, and that's by default the configuration. You can modify that if you wish.
There was a second part in that question, which was also, do you add in MIBs?
We support SNMP Traps both from intercepting. We have a listener that you can intercept SNMP Traps, and you can load it with MIB files if you need to, and all the translation of all the information is done automatically within Ishare. And we also have a category if you want to trigger some SNMP Traps as well as part of your process that you're building. You can find it over here as well.
Okay, this is a kind of a rewording of a previous question. Is there a minimum version of SolarWinds required?
So I'm not sure what was the one before right now. I think it was 6.1. I think that's the minimum for the and 10 point something for the network performance monitor.
Okay. How does Ishare know that an alert is a false positive?
Okay, so based on the workflow that you're building, and this is what I've tried to also to demonstrate over here, you're seeing that, and we all know that in reality, once a person gets an alert from a monitoring system, it doesn't just go and run scripts and try to do the troubleshooting in order to figure out the problem. The first thing he wants to validate, hey, does the website is really down? He will try to log into that website just to make sure. This is exactly what you're supposed to, and that's the best practice that you're supposed to do and start when you're building your processes. In my case, where I look at the service, the Spooler service, so I started with a service status check, which actually goes and check if that service is really down or not, just to reduce, and false alerts can come from the degradation of the network and from reason that the SolarWinds is too overloaded and things like that. You don't want to process any tickets and definitely don't want to restart something if that is a false alert. So best practice will always be drag the relative action that's going to help you to make sure that you're going to do the second check. Hey, let's make sure this is really down before processing anything else.
Okay, next question. Can this product parse and redirect notifications and or events from Zabbix, Zabbix, on Solaris 10/11 over SSH?
Sounds too complex, but in general, any system that is capable of sending out events, and there are a couple of ways to send events into Ishare. It can be an SNMP trap, it can be a syslog, it can be a CLI that we have that you can use inside your HP, Wix, Linux, Windows, whatever environment, and call and send information into Ishare. We have a web service that we can help you guys, that you can invoke, the alerts, the tickets, email, text messages. Those are all available methods that you can use to send information into Ishare. One of the capabilities here is something that is called a tag over here. This is a place that you can actually set up a short script that's going to help you guys to, once you intercept something that Ishare is not familiar with, this is where you can actually set up a small script that can help you guys to extract whatever information from that event that you're getting and then translate it into Ishare known variables that you can then use within a workflow later on.
Another part of that person's question was, can we integrate with Oracle Enterprise Manager Operations Center?
Yeah, again, any system that is capable of sending out events, we will be able to intercept those events. And any system that supports and expose an API web services that we can use, we can integrate with that and invoke whatever method within that system.
Okay. Next one. Is there any way to edit multiple workflows at once, per se, when you have a specific task that multiple workflows share? In other words, kind of like a subroutine, I think is what this person is thinking of.
Yeah, so there are two ways. First of all, you can create subroutines, which are small workflows, and then by using the run workflow over here, you can access those workflows as part of the workflow that you would like to execute. And whatever information that was gathered from the mother workflow, all that information can be sent to the child workflow and backwards if you need to. So that's one option. The second option is, let's say you have a type of, part of a workflow that you need to use in a couple of workflows. So that's why we have the workflow snippets over here, which you basically can, take it, drag it. Once you build that snippet, drag it over here, and you can see that it draws an entire part of a process over here that you can copy and use it in any workflow that you need to.
Okay, next question. What comes out of the box configured? You want to go ahead and take that one, and I'll add whatever other things that are part of the general proposals?
Okay, so from a workflow perspective, the solution comes with over 120 different type of ready templates. Those are basically ready workflows that we've gathered from our current clients, things that they build, they design, they're running in their production environment, and they were willing to share those workflows with us. By the way, all these workflows you're seeing here can be exported as an XML file and imported to other systems. So let's say you have a dev system, whatever you're going to build over there, it's going to be very easily for you to export that. This is how we gather that in those workflows. So there's a lot of samples over here that come with the product, things that will let you guys, run and get a value on the first days that you're using this solution. You want to add anything, Guy?
Yeah, so beyond the 500 activities and the 120 workflow templates, there's also the central event dashboard, the workflow scheduler, the workflow designer, the executor modules that actually perform the activities on the target device, all the protocol support, all the shell and scripting support, the SMS modules, the email modules, and then a typical license will include one integration out of the box as well. Oh, and we didn't even talk about the fact that Ishare also includes a self-service portal so that you can create a little interface for your users to trigger workflows for things like onboarding a new employee, for example. All that's included out of the box. Next question. This is kind of interesting. Do I really need a separate ITSM tool if I already have Ishare and decide to manage my ITSM through Ishare Studio and UIM?
So the question is, does you really need an ITSM solution for that?
If you already have Ishare.
We don't look at Ishare as an ITSM solution, if that's what he means. Ishare is more of that, virtual operator, that person that sits between the monitoring systems and the ITSM solution. You don't have to have a monitoring or a ticketing system in order to use Ishare. Like I have a lot of customers that they don't have those tools, and still they're using Ishare for their day-to-day repetitive tasks. I'm not sure what to answer you over here. Like if you don't have an ITSM and you feel that you can use Ishare and the Ishare dashboard as a kind of your ITSM solution, then go ahead.
Yeah, I think that we're not a replacement for ServiceNow or Remedy. We work with them to make them better. We're not an ITSM tool. We're an automation tool that integrates with an ITSM platform. And looks like this is the last question, unless anybody sends any other ones. Does this tool come with basic workflows for SolarWinds out of the box?
So out of the box, it doesn't come with any SolarWinds workflows, but if you would like us to send him a couple workflows that we're seeing out there, I'll be happy to share that with him. Again, those are XML. He can very easily import that to his local Ishare and use them.
Okay, that is the last of the questions. I'm going to go ahead and take back control for a moment, and hopefully everyone can see my screen. So I want to thank everyone for attending our webinar today. As a next step, I strongly encourage you to visit our website and download your own free 30-day trial copy of Ishare. It's available from the download menu on iahu.com, and it's a full-featured version of Ishare that has all the functionality we demonstrated for you today. And when you fill out the form for the download, be sure to check off the integration packs you'd like to test it with, for example, Solarwinds and ServiceNow. And if you need any technical assistance with Ishare while you're testing it out, we provide that assistance free of charge during your evaluation period. So the software and the tech support are free during the trial period, which makes this a zero-risk offer. So do not delay. Start integrating SolarWinds with ServiceNow today. And that concludes our webinar, everyone. Thank you all again for attending. If you think of anything else that you would like to ask, my email address is very easy to remember, as is our website, both of which are on your screen right now. And have a great rest of the day, and we'll look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. And Noe, if you could please keep that screen up for a few minutes so everybody can see it, that'd be great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.